Thank you, everybody, for rejoining us for the remainder of the session. Our next up, I'm hoping everybody's back, but next up on our schedule is I didn't know we could do that, Accessibility Adventures In, and we're going to start with Microsoft Windows and Office. We have joining us Charles Levasseur. He's the Regional Manager, Assistive Technology and Learning Disability Specialist at the Neil Squire Society, which Kayla mentioned earlier in her session. So without further ado, thank you very much, Charles, and please, you can go forth.
Okay, thank you. And I hope everybody's having a good conference. It's an interesting topic, so I'm hoping I'll be able to add some new information, maybe some interesting information, so you can use some of that information with your client, your students, I should say, in your case here. I'm going to start with Neil stories. It's just going to be a couple minutes, but I want you guys to understand what the Neil Squire Society is. And of course, my name is Charles. A lot of people sometimes will confuse me with Neil. Not that I look like him, but they actually associate, Neil as being a person, which he is, or he was, because he passed away in the early 80s. But this is his story, basically. Back when he was 21-years old, he had a car accident, and obviously this is a picture of Neil on the left and a picture of Neil on the right after the accident. Obviously, it's a severe disability. He was unable to move, but more importantly, he was unable to communicate. So not only you're losing the loss of your body or some parts of your body, but you're losing your voice, and that's hard on a person, right? So anyway, the solution for Neil, luckily, he had an uncle, Bill Cameron, who was quite creative, and Bill created a machine connected to an old Apple II computer back then. And that machine is a straw, basically, that would connect to a printer and a computer and adapter and all that stuff. And through the straw, Neil was able to use his breath to puff or sip and puff, I should say, Morse code. And as you probably know, Morse code is a set of two characters, a dot and a dash. And basically, the sip would represent the dot, and the puff represent the dash. So if you can do two things with your body, doesn't matter which part, you can actually, use a computer. That was the concept back then, and it's still true today. And so Neil was able to write letters, and he actually wrote quite a few letters to not only the doctors, but also the people, the patients that he was sharing a room with, to try to encourage them that, there's, although we had an accident, life continues, and we can still do something. Unfortunately, he passed away because of complication, but the process of using technology in a severe case like this one, obviously got us thinking, and we decided, yeah, well, you know what, let's bring that to other people with disability. And this is when the Neil Squire Society was created back in the early 1984. So it's been over 30 years. We've been doing a lot more than mobility disability. We, especially in the Atlantic side of the country, we specialize in learning disabilities. So we have a lot of people that are specialists, whether they're learning strategists or they've studied about learning disability and really focus on some of those software or solutions, because it's not always software, that can help people with disability of any kind, really. So today's topic's interesting. I'm actually using Microsoft Office right now, but it's not PowerPoint. It's OneNote. Okay, so I chose OneNote for my presentation instead of PowerPoint because I want to show you the advantage of using a software like OneNote. I mean, everybody's familiar with slides. People's been working with PowerPoint for a long time, which is great. But I prefer to use the OneNote in my presentation because that's kind of my point is, why not use OneNote for your students or for yourself even? It doesn't matter, right? So OneNote is part of Microsoft Office. I'll go to Word too in my presentation because Word's got a lot of good features that we need to talk about. In fact, I did create a little agenda here. Introduction, we did that. Neil Squire, we did that. Now we're going to be talking to one selecting AT. Don't start at the end. So Microsoft Word is not the end, it's the beginning. Okay? What do I mean by don't start at the end? Well, I mean, contrary to what we've been doing for all these years, let's not go to Kurzweil right away. Let's not go to Dragon Naturally Speaking right away. Let's start at the beginning. And the beginning is the software that already is existing on the computer that the students are using, which is probably Microsoft Office for the most, right? And please understand, I'm not pushing Microsoft product. That's not my goal. Google's got lots of good solutions as well. But the reality in some college that I work with, in some university that I deal with, the students are using Microsoft Office the most. So I'm going to see if I could push the solution to help those students, because that's the software they have. All right, so let's start with OneNote. Because before we get into Word, I want to understand, okay, why is OneNote so important? Well, first of all, this is not my creation. This is a document that came with OneNote. We can get OneNote on all our device, right? So it doesn't matter if it's for school, work, or at home. You can actually have a OneNote application on your laptop, which is what I got right now. I'm using Windows 10 Office 365. But I also have the same exact OneNote on my iPad. And in addition to that, I also have the same OneNote on my phone, which is an Android phone. I used to have an iPhone, not an Android. Doesn't matter the platform. You can still put the app on either one of them. You can actually connect to OneNote using the Chromecast, a Chromebook, I should say, if you have one. So, it's a very portable solution. So, okay, why is it important? Well, this is what we hope our students going to be like. It's a picture of a well-organized binder. This is probably related to high school. You got biology tab there. You got an English tab. And you probably have a mathematic tabs right there. This is what, we strive for when we're trying to get individuals organized. And sometimes people with executive functioning difficulties will struggle with these concepts to be able to put together a nice, organized study or working and study environment. Because that's what the binder represents here. It's not just the actual paper, but it's everything, the environment that you're working in. Well, here's the reality for myself and a lot of my students. This is what my binder looked like when I was in high school and when I was at university. It's a bit of a mess, I probably could find what I needed in there, but only me could find it. But the reality is, no, I couldn't really find exactly what I wanted. It was creating a lot of problems when I was studying and when I had to get ready for my homework and assignment. And combine that with a book back that looks like this, all your paper is messy and, so that's the reality for a lot of our students, right? So we need to give them something more. And think about Neil for a second. Let's go back to Neil. Neil cannot use his arms. So, even this was not even possible for Neil. This, forget it. He could not reach in the back of a backpack, which is probably in the back of the wheelchair, to pick a paper out. There was no mobility for that. So it's not just learning disability. It's for anything. People with visual impairment. They could probably find it on the computer, but finding a piece of paper in the binder, it's just not possible. It's just not going to happen. So again, the digital format here allows you to do that, and OneNote does it quite well. And the representation that I'm showing today, let me just talk about some part of the screen here, is on the left. And I'll go back to this picture, actually, because this is what I'm going to try to show. So on the left, I have different binders. So if I click on Personal Web up here, that's my binder. If I click on Management, If I click on demo, which is the one I'm in right now, if I click on welding, it doesn't matter, right? Those, I pick the binder that I want, then I create tabs on top. So there's no limit how many binders you can get. I like to display mine all on the left. And then when I pick a binder, I can create as many tabs as I want. You could even color code them. I don't personally pick the colors, it just comes default, but you may want to assign a color with a certain topic, that's fine. And then once you got like I got the demo tab open now, then you create page, right? And a page could be anything, like you're adding a new page, just by pressing add, okay? And then you go and give it a name, new page, right? Or, discussion on AT. And sometimes you make some typos, no problem, you can fix that easy, okay? So very easy to add page. If I don't want it, I'm going to delete it. Easy, okay? So that's the concept of why using OneNote. So OneNote, you guys all have it. If you have Microsoft Office, you already have it. And there's a couple different versions of OneNote, but use the one that comes with your application. This is my 316 version, actually. 365, I'm sorry, that I'm using, which is a bit different from the 2016, but still it's very similar in terms of appearance. And the one on my iPad provides very similar features, and so on and so on. All right, so I'm going to move on to my next concept in OneNote. But before I do that, I need to bring you to an app called Office Lens. See, OneNote itself can be combined with your other technology, your cell phone, for example. Your cell phone is basically the best scanner that you have at this time, and it's the same when you're students. Most students have a cell phone, therefore, most students will have a scanner. Now, I don't really have the ability to show you my cell phone application right now, so what I'll do is I'll go back to my OneNote and show you some of the pictures that I scanned and that I brought into my OneNote. Here's one here. I took that one at the University of New Brunswick a few years ago. I think it was in 2016. Yep, you could tell it wasn't the date here. And that was at the WU Center. I was sitting in the back of the classroom, way back, and I used my cell phone. I think it was an iPhone 4 or 4S at the time. And I took a picture of that slide because the teacher was, teaching about positive psychology. I thought it was an interesting slide. So I took a picture and I sent it to my OneNote. And that's what Office Lens allows you to do. So if I go back to the web page, Office Lens, basically you could take a picture of anything, whether it's a piece of paper, you can crop, select just the part you want, and then you basically press check mark. And once you press check mark, then it's going to ask you, okay, fine, where do you want to send it, right? And usually you'll send it to your OneNote or your OneDrive. And in my case, I sent it to OneNote, so it ended up here. So you could tell I do that quite often. These are all documents that I send, or pictures that I send to my OneNote, right? There's a couple there. Sometimes in French, sometimes it's a paragraph. Sometimes it's a picture of a dog. There's a page. That was a page of a textbook, okay? Now, okay, what's the advantage of doing that? Well, here's an example here. All right, so now I got this picture that came from my cell phone. It was a paper that I took a picture of. OneNote allows you to install learning tools. Now, this is not in OneNote originally. So if you just Google learning tools for OneNote and install it, it's just going to add this extension here. And this extension allows you to do two things, immersive reader and dictate. Okay, so the immersive reader looks like this. So if I bring it up, basically it will transfer your picture into a readable format. And if I just press play, And I got my, it might be some echo here, so I'll just try to read it quickly.
A lot of.
Yeah, sorry about the echo, but I guess I'm going to turn off the volume because it's too much echo. But I'll just show you, like if I press play, you could tell that it's moving along, right? It's reading. And if I turn that off, you'll see some of the features here allows me to change to high contrast, right? So if I press play on the high contrast, same concept, it just changes the color, which may be good for, you know, a person with dyslexia, for example. Notice how the current line that it's reading is white, where the other one is grayed out. So it's almost like creating a ruler bar, if you wish, so you can actually follow along. So that's a contrast, but there's different colors. You know, you could play with that and see which one works best for you. Same concept here, just different colors. Okay, I'm going to go back to my white. You can also change the spacing, you know, make it bigger, so more space in between letters or the text. Okay, so if I go here like that, it's more space, might be easier to read. Okay, or if you prefer, you could go with comprehension. What comprehension does is basically going to give you some additional information. For example, in this case, the words that are verbs are actually in red. All right, so you could just turn that on by itself without using the comprehension. Okay, or you could just go with the nouns. Nouns would use a different color, and adjective, I think it's green. But the one I like is the syllables. So if I click on syllables, notice how it's actually breaking down the words. I'm going to increase the size of the text just a bit so we see it better. Right? So it's increasing the word. I'm sorry. It's putting the syllable marker, which is a dot, between the actual syllables of the word. So if I look at independent, it's independent. So people with dyslexia may benefit from using a feature like this one, which comes in the learning tools as part of the immersive reader. Additionally, you could change the voice. You know, there's all kinds of voice. You could download more voice. You could change the speed. Very similar features that you'll do in Kurzweil, of course. I'll close that. And that came from that picture, right? So I didn't have to go and print that or take a book and cut it and, you know, make sure that it's scanned, you know, and that it goes through an OCR process. I don't have to worry about that. I just basically open up the book, open up my app on my cell phone, take a picture, press OK, and it goes to my OneNote automatically, just like that. Okay. Sometime though, and I'll be honest, go back to my positive psychology. The quality of the picture is important. For example, let's read this one just see what the problems may be with this one here. Everything's going to be fine in the beginning. Positive psychology, research in positive psychology demonstrate the tense of creating a positive leeming, right? So I'll go back to the picture. Well, it should have been important, but it's because of that bright light. It wasn't able to make out the I-M-P-O-R, so it just recognized the last part of that word. And leeming, well, it's not its fault because look at the word learning here. The R and the N is connected somewhat. Looks like an M to me, right? So again, back to the quality of the picture. I was way back in the classroom, so if I would have been closer and with better lighting, it would have worked much better. Okay, let's go back to the learning tools. I'm going to go back in my demo, create another page. Dictation. This is an important aspect because with dictation, you often hear people recommend Dragon, and Dragon is a great software, you know. But again, it's starting at the end. You know, you're going to the biggest, most complex, hard to learn software. So learning tools got dictation right there. Okay? In fact, I'm going to put OneNote aside there for a second. And I'm going to show you Word. I don't think I have it started. Yeah, I do. Okay. If I go in Word, dictation is in two places. It's right here under the Home menu. And that's my Word 365. Or if you don't have this for some reason, and if you have like an older version of Word, you can actually download the dictation. And I like this one better. I'll show you why. Because you could download that from the Microsoft Garage. And if you Google Word Dictate Microsoft Garage, here's what you get. You get this feature, which is embedded in my Word. Why I like this one better? Well, it's because notice how I can go from English to, I don't know, let's go English to French. So basically, you're going to dictate in English, and then it's going to type it in French. Okay? So let's give that a start. So I'm typing in English right now. Now it's in French. Okay? I'll do it again. This time I'll do English to English. This is me typing with my voice. Simple as that. Okay? So how long does it take to learn that feature? So if you have a person with learning disability and you just got your technology, you're already behind in your work, and then you have to start learning Dragon. You're not out of the woods. But if you get this feature, after 5 minutes, you're ready to start dictating. Right? That's why I think it's important not to start at the end, to go to Dragon right away, because that feature is already part of Microsoft Word. As a matter of fact, it's also part of Microsoft Office applications such as Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, as we saw a second ago. Okay? So it makes more sense to go with a software like this because it's easier to learn than a big software like Dragon, because Dragon is a lot more complex. It's got a lot of more features. I mean, sure, if you had somebody that was in a mobility situation where he cannot use his arms or cannot type using a mouse and a keyboard, then the voice may be the only choice. Then I would like to, I would basically, make sure I recommend Dragon to this person. That totally makes sense, right? But if you have somebody with a learning disability that has full use of their hands and have no problem typing, then it's not an issue. You can actually use this feature. And I believe Rebecca, which is with me today in this presentation, she actually joined us to tell me when there's questions in the chat. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but she just posted a link in the messaging part of this Skype conference. So you guys got the link for the Word Dictate, I believe, is the one she posted. So all you need to do is click on that link. It should bring you to the right place.
Charles, just a quick question.
Yeah.
How accurate is the translation feature?
Well, you know what? I just started using it, so it's hard for me to answer. I don't know what engine they use. It's not Google because it's Microsoft. So to be honest with you, I just don't have enough data to be able to say that it's perfect. Like it's pretty good, I can tell you from what I've done so far. But again, it is a Google Translate type of engine.
Okay.
Right. So I'm sure there'll be some words that may not get translated properly.
Thank you.
Not a problem. So the manual punctuation, by the way, if I just show you this manual punctuation, this allows you, if you click on that, you have to say them. You have to say your period, you have to say your comma, colon, and semicolon, and all that. And I prefer that myself because I find with the manual punctuation, with the automatic punctuation, sometimes I pause when I dictate, and when I pause, it's got a tendency to want to put a period, and I'm not done. All right, so I prefer the manual punctuation, but it's something you have to adjust, obviously, to your liking, right? Now, by the way, back to Word again. So I'm going to stay in Word for a second here. This is the Office 365 version of Word. It comes under my Review tab with a Read Aloud, right? And this is a great feature. So if I select this text and I press Read Aloud, I turn off the volume, but you could basically see as it's reading along, okay? So why is that important for our students? Well, if you're going to be dictating or if you're going to be typing, doesn't matter, you basically should be listening to your text, before you submit it. And that's how you pick up some additional mistakes sometimes, right? So it's a way to prove your writing. If you do not have the Word 365, let's say you have Word 2016, then you're not going to see that feature at this point. However, I put the speak command, and I put it in my quick access toolbar. And normally the quick access toolbar is usually positioned on top here. So I'll put it back where it normally is, like above the ribbon. See that on top? Oh, I can't access it. Hold on. Let's see if I can move this around. The Skype toolbar is kind of taking over, I guess. Let me see if I could change this around a bit. Okay, now I can see it. So basically, I can select my text, and then you use the speak command, which is right there. It's a bit different than the read aloud command because you probably notice that it does not go and show you which word is reading. Like the Kurzweil feature that highlights the word when you're reading it. It doesn't have it with that speak command. But at least you have something that will read the text out loud from Word. So it's whether it's 2016 or 365 you're using. If you're using 2016, you have to use the speak command. If you're using the 365, then you're using the Review tab Read Aloud command, which is much better. So hopefully you have 365 instead of 2016. Okay, but either way, it'll work. And I'll put my below the ribbon again so I can access it whenever I do a presentation. Okay. So those are features in Word, right? And there's additional things in Word, like you can actually check your accessibility of a Word document, which is kind of a neat feature. So if you're creating a document that you're going to print, or you're creating a document that you're going to email to somebody that is going to be using assistive technology, you may want to check your accessibility first. And basically, it will tell you, you should have used styles. You should have formatted this differently, right? Than using headings and stuff like that. So basically, that's what it does. It allows you to review parts of your document and make sure they're fully accessible. A lot of the focus of that will be on the people that are blind, probably using JAWS and screen readers. But still, I mean, if you make that document accessible to any type of screen readers like JAWS, that's the ultimate, right? If JAWS can read it, any other assistive technology can deal with it, right? That's the goal. Okay, back to OneNote. Hope I'm not going too fast, eh? If I am, just make sure you interrupt me because I don't want to lose anybody in the dust here. So, all right. So, what can we do with OneNote? Well, I said earlier you could take a picture, you could send it here, and then you could work with it. So I'm going to go back to that because I wasn't done with that concept yet. If I go back in my personal web, which is where my pictures are, and I'm going to see if I could pick that. I probably won't find the one I had a second ago. I could use something like that, I guess. Hold on. That's French. I should have prepared something ahead of time. There it is. So if I press the right mouse button on this, notice there's a copy text from picture command, right? So if I go copy text from picture, I can actually bring that to Word and paste it. And there's my text. All right? So now I can work with this text somehow, you know? I can actually edit it. You know, I can actually, sometimes it'll give me some extra space. I could delete that. I can listen to it. I can do all kinds of stuff, okay? I can format it. I can copy and paste and use it in some of my documents. Like let's say you're quoting somebody or you're referring somebody, then yeah, you can actually take the information and make sure you don't make any typos by using that feature, which comes into OneNote, okay? So I'm going to go back to my OneNote. Another thing you could do screen clipping, right? Screenshots or whatever you want to call that. For example, let's say I go on the internet and I'm going to bring you, see this page here. I'm going to show you that mouse in a second, okay? But let's say I want to take some text from this document here. You know, I want to actually take this page. I don't want to change the way it looks. I mean, I can copy some text, sure. Take the mouse and copy. That's easy, right? But in this case, I won't do that. What I'll do is I'll go back to my OneNote, whoops, right there, and I'm going to go Insert, Screen Clipping, and then you can actually go and take a snapshot, you know, of this document. Okay, same thing as before. It's a picture. A snapshot is a picture, which means that the right mouse copy text command is there, or if you go under Learning Tools, your immersive reader can read it. Okay, so it will work with pretty much any type of picture. So let's say you have a document online that, you know, is just not possible for whatever reason to read it. You can do that with it. You could do a screen clipping. And this is very basic command that it's included. It's included in Claro. It's included in Read and Write, Text Help. It's included in Kurzweil. It's included in a lot of different assistive technology out there, right? So at one time, it used to be strictly available on these high-end software, but today it's part of OneNote, which is part of Microsoft Office, right? So it's a great feature that allows you to work with whatever's on the screen. So again, if you have a document that is printed, then you're going to need to have a software like Office Lens on your phone. Take a picture of it, send it to your OneNote. If you have a document that is on the screen, then you do a screen clipping, right? Or as they call it, in their case, it's screen. Yeah, actually, the word screen clipping is the word to use. Okay. Now, since we're on the subject, here's a mouse. It can scan too. Now, that's not part of Microsoft Office, but I always introduce this because I think it's a neat concept for people that use mouse. This mouse will scan. It looks like a regular mouse, right? It's only $79 Canadian. There's different versions, mind you. You know, if I look at I think there's one that's $200 that's got more features, but I'm going to show you this one, the cheapest one they got, okay? So what I do is I put my mouse, you're not going to see that part, but you will in a second. I put my mouse on the book that I'm going to scan right now, and I press that buttons on the left, and there's my mouse software. Now you're going to see me scan. Now I picked the first book I could find. It's boring, it's a dictionary, but it doesn't matter. Show you the concept. All right, so then I could crop. Like I might not need all that. All right, so I just cut off what I don't want. Press OK, and there it is on the right. And if I double click on that Word option, there it is. So whatever I scanned was brought into Word, all right? Now, it couldn't see the letter S properly, so I'm going to fix that one, see aspect, but the rest looks pretty good, all right? So if you're, again, working with quotes and you want to bring those into your computer and from a book, then yeah, no problem. You can actually scan that, right, and bring that into Word and then work with it directly. And it's not only Word. I could have saved it as a JPEG or a PDF or just basic text even, so you could bring it anywhere, or a PNG, which is like a JPEG. It's just a different picture format. Okay? So that, I'm going to close that app now. That's what you do with a mouse like that. Okay? So this, I find, is a good companion to Microsoft Office, right? You need a way to get your text into the computer. This is a great option that allows you to do that.
Charles, just a quick question. There was a question in the chat about if you take a picture with OneNote, can you then embed the picture itself into Word, and will that picture still have its OCR properties, or will it just be a picture, which is what the screenshots usually are?
So if I take this picture here, for example, the screen clipping of the Iris Scan mouse, yeah, no problem. I can definitely bring that into to Word. There's a couple of ways of doing that. You know, just basically just take a copy command, go into Word, I'll open up a new document and paste it. But when you get into Word, just in Word itself, there's no review for reading out loud if it's text that is not copied from OneNote. So I guess the quick answer is no, not at this time, right? There's no integrated feature that allows me to select a picture in Word and then read it. That only works in OneNote at this time.
All right, thank you.
But the next feature, and that's why I like the concept of Office 365, because I mean the word dictation for OneNote has been around probably for 3 years now. But the actual dictation for Word is new. It just came out, I think, last summer or maybe last spring. I don't remember the exact date. So they're always coming up with new features. And who knows what next year's Microsoft Office is going to look like, right? They might have additional features, maybe an actual reading ruler for dyslexia might be added. You know, I don't know exactly what they're working on. So, but that might be a suggestion we would want to tell Microsoft, and maybe they'll add it in the next implementation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, so we have organization. So I guess no question so far that OneNote is good for people with executive functioning because it allows them to get organized, right? So I think everybody sees that. It also allows you to integrate very well with the outside text and so on. But I mean, you can bring all kinds of stuff into OneNote. It doesn't have to be a picture. You know, it could be, for example, if I go, I'm not sure if I got a PowerPoint here. I think I do somewhere. Well, here's a welding course, just to give you an example. Here's a PowerPoint right there. So I'm going to zoom out a bit because it's too big. It's part of the welding college course that some of my students were looking at. And just to show you, and I'm using a touchscreen, right? So let's not forget that this is touchscreen technology. So when I imported that PowerPoint into OneNote, I brought it in as a printout. So you can actually insert an attachment, you know, which would just give you an icon like this one. And I'll show you an example of attachment. When I go to a meeting, for example, I put all kinds of attachment on top here. Right, my Word document. So whenever they send me email documents to review before meetings, I'll put that. I'll create a page in a specific category or tab, and then I would insert my document that we're going to use during the meeting, so I'm ready for the meeting when I get there. Right, I try to do that ahead of time. Well, the same thing should be true for a student. So a student would receive a PowerPoint ahead of time. They should create their page, right? And then once their page is created, you can put more than one document. I just put one here, which is the PowerPoint, and then they're ready for the, taking some notes in the course. For example, now I can go into Draw, and I'm going to be using my touchscreen, right? I can actually highlight, right on the PowerPoint using basically the features that are built into OneNote, okay? And it's not just about highlighting, you can actually select, you could draw, right? You could write beside it, 1400, whatever. Maybe it's the price. Oh, I used my finger, but I touched my scroll bar. But you see what I mean? Like, so you need to put yourself some place for writing notes, but you can do that. It's easy to do. And if you have a stylus, even better, then you can just go with your stylus and basically, use that instead of using a mouse, which works better, right? Of course, that requires a touchscreen. Works great on an iPad because the iPad is always touchscreen. On the laptop, well, if you don't have a touchscreen laptop, then you would have to use your mouse, right? So, notice, by the way I created this course, welding, I got vocabulary things on top here. So basically, if the instructor is giving me information like this, then I can put it there. So my organization is that I put my welding course in my demo book, but maybe welding is an actual very important topic for me, so then I would create a welding binder, right? And I would put all my information that way instead, and these are actual welding processes that they use. Just to show you an example, you can actually go more detail here. And not only that, gas is an important aspect of welding, so I actually created a folder in my OneNote, and if I double click on gas, it would bring me to another page. I don't think I have anything under gas, but let's go processes. I could put the processes this way instead of having them on the previous page. Like, there's ways of organizing this any way you want, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? The additional thing you could do with OneNote, if I go back to my demo, I'm going to create another page right now. I'm going to call this one using tags, okay? And basically with tags, and I'll zoom in so it's going to be easier to read. So create a to-do list, okay? Very easy to do here with tags. For example, read page 5 of blah, blah, blah. Okay? So that is basically something I need to do. I'm going to press Control 1 as opposed to using my mouse, which is cool here. I know to do that checkbox here, it's Control 1, because here's my tags list. Okay? And then I basically go on and, I don't know, connect with groups to discuss, and I'm just going to put some dots so we'll go faster, right? So again, it's creating some kind of a bullet list, but it's a bullet list of to-do lists, which I can actually click on and off, right? That's what we call a tag. And there's different tags. Like, for example, you're taking notes. This is a new concept. What does he mean by? And then I'll press Control 2, or in this case, Control 3. Control 3, which is another tag, and I'll go back to my tag list, because I use the mouse as well. These are all the tags I can pick from. So Control 3 is an actual question mark, right? So let's say you're working on a project, or you're writing yourself some notes. You can use these tags, and then you could extract these tags, just like in Kurzweil. You highlight text, and then you could extract that text. Well, in this case, you use the tags, and you extract those tags into a new page, and then you could actually create some study material from that, or go to your professor and with a bunch of questions that came from all these notes page that you created, right? So when you do your search, you could find your tag. There's a tag finding feature right here. And it creates, basically, you could search tags by section. You know, you can actually look at today's notes as opposed to this page group or yesterday's notes or this entire notebook or all notebook even, right? And you basically select the tag you want, okay? So on this case, I'm looking at just a question mark. I'm going to basically go and create a summary page. I only have those tags that I got on this one, okay? But I mean, if I would have picked, you know, all pages on all notebook, I would have got a, now let's just try it. All notebook. There's a whole bunch of tags right here coming up, right? So, you know, whatever. You know, it's a feature, again, that allows you to document, create questions. But a lot of people will use OneNote as a note-taking software. So, you know, while you're taking notes, while you're studying, or while you're in classroom during a lecture, you know, you can actually use that quite easily. And I like the keyboard shortcuts because to me they're much faster. So you see, you don't have keyboard shortcuts for all of them, but you have quite a bit. And also, you can create your own customized tag, right? So you can go create a new tag right here. Okay, you give it a name, you pick a symbol, pick a color. You could have a highlight color as well, right? Just like the green and the blue up here. Okay. So again, not that complicated to work with. It's the tag command basically. Another command which I find is quite interesting. Create another page here. Instead of creating a white page like this one, I can actually go into my Insert tab and select a page template. So I'll pick one that's already created, one called Simple Lecture Notes. Okay? Here it is. All right? As a learning strategy, this is a great way to help students take better notes. Because look, you know, they have a place they can go here, and those are tags that somebody created, but basically they can go in and type their homework, 57 to 69. Okay. Related to this topic, you know, I don't know, I'll stick with the well-being team because that's what we started with. The most important fact covered today, I don't know, processes, gas, you know, whatever, okay? So it's very easy to fill in the blanks, right? So, excuse me, it's an organized way, and that's what a template is. A template is just an organized way to collect information and to work with information, all right? So you can create your own template. So if I go back in my template, which is under Insert, Page Template, I could pick one of those, right? That's already created. Or if I click on Page Template, I can go and look for all kinds of other ones. Like there's some for math, okay? Now some for history, lecture note, simple lecture note, detailed lecture note, and I'm not sure what the difference between all of them. You're gonna have to explore that. You could have a blank one, but there's different type of blank ones, okay? You could have business, more like a business, like if you go to a meeting, for example, you could use that format. Planners even, you know, simple to-do list, prioritize list, project to-do list. So if you're working in teams, right, those templates, if I bring up this one, for example, you know, it's a very basic template, but it allows you to you know, create something as a team and maybe even share it, because all these binders, by the way, and I didn't go there today because I don't know if we have time for that, but all these binders can easily be shared, you know. So OneNote is actually a tool that works really, really well with the cloud, and being on the cloud means that you can share and get people to contribute, right? They can work together on one page. and put their own information, so eventually they have a project done, right? So those are some of the features that allows you to do that. Now, some of the interesting one, maybe the math one would be the interesting one to look at, right? So there's different things that you could, again, it's part of the learning strategy. You know, what's the formulas, ULM that you covered today? What's your homework? What's the lecture topics? That's where you take your notes. It's kind of like, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Cornell method of note-taking with pen and paper. You know, that's the method where you divide your page in 3 parts. A big part, which is where you take your note. A smaller part on the left, which is where you write your new vocabulary. And then the bottom part, which is where you're going to put things in your own words when you review, right? It's a technique. I mean, you don't need technology for that. You could do that with pen and paper. But a template, in this case, you know, may help the student do better because they know what to look for while they're taking in the lecture. Okay. Another big concept I find here, it's in Word, in OneNote, is math. For example, I just created this equation, and there's a couple of ways to create that equation. I'll do it again, but I'll do it using the draw command. All right, so if I draw, again, I'll try to use my fingers, x plus 3 square, and 2 is probably not going to be recognized. You have to have a good handwriting if you want this to work. But let's try this again. So if I go in my draw feature now, you know, I can actually lasso that. So select the text that I created, right? And then I could go back to draw and ink to math. Right? So it says that, okay, looks like fun. Yeah, you recognize it's okay. So press insert. There it is. That's how I put that equation right there on the screen. Okay? Now,
There's some
version,
excited people in the room.
yeah, well, watch the next step. This version actually is not, like that's OneNote version 365. It's actually a bit different than the other one. So I'm going to bring you to the other OneNote that I have. I got 2 OneNote on this machine, right? This one's a little different. This is more like the app that comes with Windows 10. So if I look at this one, and I did the same thing, I've done the equation here, and I'll just do it again quickly. So x plus 3, I think, square t equals 4, right? So there it is. So then I'm going to lasso that. I think I missed my 2 there. Yeah, I'm going to do that again. Hold on. I got too much text there. Hold on. Oh. You have to go straight when you lasso. You have to be good at making sure you don't miss anything. Okay, that's going to work, right? So then I could go into the math feature. Okay? So this is not there in the other OneNote, but it is on this one. So the math feature here allows me to do some other actions. For example, I could solve x. Right? If I click on that, right? So basically, x. Oh no, it didn't recognize the. I'm gonna fix it. See, it didn't recognize my 4. It thought the 4 is now 1. Let me fix that. Right? So in this case. Let me redo that. Okay, that should be a 4 now. Let's try that again. Math. There we go. Now we got it. I'm going to solve it. It's either -1 or -5. Right? That's the answer. It's one of those 2 because if I go -1 plus 3, that gives me 2. 2 squares equal 4. And if I go -5 plus 3, that gives me 2, and 2 squares equal 4. So basically, here's my answer. Right? I could show the step too, by the way. You know, these are the steps.
Oh.
So people that have math difficulties can break down equations using this little software and you know, it's part of Microsoft Office. It's built in. Unfortunately, I don't know why. Somebody asked me, you know, why is it on this version and not the other one? I don't know. You know, that's a Microsoft decision. I cannot answer that. But I think the app is free anyway. So, you know, whenever I work with my binders, I prefer to use this version. I find it looks better. I even changed the color scheme for me because I like the darker borders. But whenever I work with Matt, I got to do it in this one. You know, simple as that. And I don't, you know, that's just the way it is. So the whole concept here is that, again, let me go back. If the features that I mentioned today, and let's recap some of them there. So in Word, we have the dictate and the read aloud, or the speak, depending on the version you have. You know, if that's enough for your student to be able to address the educational barriers that they're having, then there's no need of pursuing and trying to get more complex software. If it's not enough, then we go on to the next level. And what is the next level? You know, we didn't talk about that yet, but the next level to me is still not Kurzweil. Again, that's really high end. You know, I probably go WordQ next. You know, and it's from experience. I look at the features, and I see that WordQ's got some additional features that Word does not have, right? It's actually meant to be a supplement to Word, actually. And it's got word prediction, for example. Well, we don't have word prediction in Word right now. And so we would need to add something like WordQ. And it does read too. It's a pretty good reader. But if I need more, like for example, if I really want a real ruler, like a dyslexic bar, and I'll just bring up that software to make sure you guys understand what I mean. I hope I've got a couple more minutes, so I could show that. Okay. So I'll bring up this one, for example. Update, I'm just going to say no for that for now. I'll do that later. Click Extra, Clear Ruler, Screen Ruler. There it is. You see what I mean by dyslexic bar? So if I bring that to a document, for example, then I can really focus on the text, and everything else is grayed out, right? So that's not part of Word. You know, additionally, you need to go to the additional software. But again, I'm not at Kurzweil yet. I'm just at Claro, right? Because based on the feature so far, you know, we are at Claro, and if that's not good enough, then I go to the next one. And the next one, there's Co-Writer. There's all kinds of software. I'm not reading them all today because, I mean, there's lots of choice. But eventually, you'll get to read and write text from TextHelp, which is got more features in Claro. And then eventually, if that still doesn't work, then you get to Kurzweil. So Kurzweil will be useful for probably, I don't know, 25% of your students. But I'm going to tell you that not 100% of your students will be able to work with Kurzweil, right? So it's hard to say exactly the number, but go with what they need and then match the feature of the software to their learning challenge instead of trying to go for the gusto right away, because you're not providing them a service, right? You're basically giving them a software that's more complex. You know, Word is not complex, right? Word is very easy to work with, and then you build on top of that, all right? So that's the concept that is important. You start with that and you build up. Okay. Now there's a question in the text, I think. What is the program or the ruler you demo? That's Claro. It's actually called Screen Ruler, but it's part of Claro Read. So if you look for Claro Read on the internet, you'll be able to find it, and look for the Screen Ruler. There's also a Claro View too, by the way. Claro View allows you just to change the contrast colors of your screen. So I have a lot of people with stroke that prefers this type of software here because the screen is just so bright. So Claro View provides an overlay, right? So you've seen those before, maybe. You know, we actually buy those plastic color overlay, and you put on top of the screen. Well, you don't have to buy plastic. You could use the software overlay, and that's better. And you could change the intensity of the color. So, you know, people with vision problem, people with stroke, you know, that affects, maybe they have migraine, you know, that's another option for them, basically. I'm going to turn off the screen ruler now. All right, so that gives me about 60 minutes there. You guys, I'm not sure if you got more time for me, but I mean, that gives you the basic of what's included in Word and Office in general, because, you know, Word is only one part of Office. There's OneNote, which is something we saw today. There's additional software too, like Cortana. Cortana is a personal digital assistant. We didn't look at it today, but you know, if I want to talk to my computer and get the computer to remind me of something, you could use voice command like remind me to call the doctor tomorrow morning, right? And that's going to create an event, right? Create an event in your reminder, and then next day the software will remind you, right? You could create an event in your calendar, you know, meeting with Rebecca tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Okay, and it's going to create the actual meeting instead of you having to click, 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 and type, type, type. It does it just using your voice. So it's a good feature. And any other questions?
Anybody have questions?
That was awesome, though.
That was awesome.
Amazing.
Everybody's very excited.
All right. Well, there's more. There's a lot, you know, like it's barely scratching the surface today on some of that. If there's other meetings you guys have and you want to do more demonstration, I'm more than happy to come back, you know.
Yes, we do webinars quite often, so you might actually get an invite. Well, might.
Not a problem.
Very likely will.
Great. We'll pick another topic next time, so that's not a problem.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charles. Anybody online have any questions? Okay, it seems everybody, there's no questions at this point, but I'm sure. Well, thank you very much, Charles. This has been fantastic. There's a lot for us to go back and check out, and we are looking forward to future events.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, you have a great day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.